Welcome to the T3 podcast, Transformation Talks with Tara. Here is your host, Tara Duke.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us here at T3, Transformation Talks with Tara. Today, I'm going to speak about one of the subjects that is near and dear to my heart when we talk about transformation, and that is disruption. Now, when people hear the word disruption, they often think of things that derail or throw you off track. And sure, disruption can sometimes be something like that. When we talk about innovation, disruption, transformation, a lot of times people can use what's called purple prose. And what is purple prose? That is when we use a lot of words that sound pretty but don't really mean a lot, like synergies and strategies and things like that. So today when I talk about disruption and innovation around transformation, I'm going to try to distill that down into real talk. What are we talking about today when we think about disruption, and what does innovation truly mean when we look at it in the context of our organizations? Transformation is embarked upon for many reasons. And as you remember from my first video, transformation is just basically changing the way you do business. Disruption is one of those reasons why you might change how you do your business. And disruption can come in many, many different forms. Disruption can come from an outside source. Oftentimes when people think about disruption, they do get that outside source thought, meaning another entrant, right? Another competitor has done something, and so now they have to change. There's an external factor of some sort that is causing them and requiring them to change. And if you think about those external factors, for those companies, specifically those that are consumer facing, right? End users like you and me, disruption comes because customers have changed what they want from us, right? And therefore we must change as companies in order to meet the needs of our customers. Disruption means many things to many people, but ultimately it gives us the opportunity to innovate, whether that comes from a negative source or a positive source, internally sourced or externally focused. So with that being said, disruption and innovation tend to be my favorite state of being when working with clients, because those are folks that are ready to change and willing to change due to some factor that is requiring change. All right, let's think about disruption when we talk about disruption from an external force. Oftentimes when people think about innovation and the way we go about changing our business, they think about brand new products or brand new service models. If you think about Netflix and how they changed and disrupted their market by changing how we get our movies or TV shows, they were the disruptors. They decided to change the service model around their products that they offer. If you think about other types of disruptors like Apple, who changed our products and how we get certain things like streaming services or access to the internet or access to phones, and bringing all of that into one device. This is what disruptors look like. Now, one of the things that people often forget is that when one disrupts, often others are disrupted. Now, I can guarantee you that the companies that are in those industries when disruptors show up are not super excited about being disrupted upon. Disruptors are disruptors because end consumers that use their products and services have determined that what they offer is what they want, right? So if you are in the current industry of a disruptor and customers and or clients have determined that this new thing is what they want, staying the same is no longer an option. You have to change in order to meet the needs of customers and clients. Otherwise, you lose them to the company that is doing the things that they want. Now, there's a couple of things that can be done when somebody has disrupted your industry. You can choose to disrupt just right back, right? A lot of companies have strategy and innovation teams that are constantly looking at new ways of doing business, new ways of bringing products to market, new products to bring into the market. And if you have this state of innovation within your organization, then you could be ready when your industry is disrupted to launch a new product or launch a new service or launch a new way of doing that business or reaching those new customers or those current customers and keeping them. It is up to you how you meet that disruption. But if you are not ready for it, there is often times that you will go out of business. And using the example of Netflix as the disruptor, Blockbuster was the disrupted. Now, if you think about it, there are many other entrants on the market now. Amazon Prime or Apple TV Plus, et cetera, et cetera. These organizations have latched onto that new model and are providing services, offerings, and products in the way that these customers are asking for. Now, of course, if everybody's doing it, how do we make money, right? And so the idea is that you have to continuously innovate in order to drive need for your products and services, to keep customers and to bring in new customers. Another type of disruption is one that disrupts the market overall. Another type of disruption that is more widespread are things like recessions or global pandemics like COVID. And when these types of disruptors hit us, there is nothing for us to do except for change or go out of business. For instance, there are many different types of organizations that were hit by COVID that there was nowhere for them to go. Many of those types of industries were hotels, hospitality, right? Restaurants, food industries that interacted with the general public. When you think about these types of industries, lockdowns and things like that, or lack of access to funds, means that things that were nice to have are no longer necessary. And when we go back to the basics, bare necessities, then what do we do with what we have to offer? So for instance, I know during COVID, there was a certain restaurant chain that decided to literally shut down their making of food and revert back to core products that people needed from food staple perspective, and almost became like one of those mom and pop general stores. And so they were sourcing new types of food. They were sourcing different types of food in packaging, right? Shelf stable packaging, and things like that to offer to people that were buying more in bulk or buying in order to cook at home. Other types of industries like retail, depending on how you were working or what you were offering, you might have shifted your offerings, how people got their products when they came to your store, whether that be self checkouts, right? More space between people in lines, being able to pick up curbside, robotics that were bringing products to customers curbside, and other things like this that allowed for people to feel safer while still in a pandemic. I watched some retailers take on a really agile approach during COVID, choosing to look into their store operations, what was happening each and every day and week and month in their stores, and pivoting quickly to change to meet the needs of the people that they were serving. These retail organizations transformed the way they do their business. They changed how customers interacted with their employees. They changed how employees interacted with products. They changed how they were bringing products into their stores. Supply chains were disrupted. And so how they were getting product, where they were getting product from, and how they were keeping the product needed, not knowing for sure what was needed, right? Getting some of those just-in-time warehouse measures and supply chain measures in place to be very agile in the way that they approached both their customers and the products that they were providing. Not all changes were large and disruptive. Some innovations are small but impactful when we think about changing processes and technologies to meet the needs that are out there. Some of the best technology companies that got wildly successful during COVID weren't massive prior to COVID. What they did was they solved niche problems for organizations that were still solving client problems. And so these technologies were able to be used within stores, homes, companies that were going virtual, etc. So making sure that you're able to do those pivots when needed is really what sets you apart from other companies, other organizations in times of change and disruption. Often when we think about innovation and disruption in the space, we think about products or services, how we interact with people or provide those services to people that change, right? Again, the Netflixes or the Apples of the world. But many other types of innovation exist out there. How people want to be interacted with changes drastically year to year or generation to generation. When we think about how people were interacting with each other, 3 decades ago, we're looking at things like mailers, door to door, email was new on the scene, right? We've moved to social media where we're talking about Twitter or Facebook or things like that, different chat rooms. And then you get into the newest generations. And if you're not on TikTok, you're not going anywhere. How we interact and how people feel about our brands continues to evolve. And so disrupting how we're getting our messaging about what we're doing, how we're interacting with our customers has to continuously change in order to keep up with the needs of our customers. So not just products, not just services, communication and social interaction are really important when we think about disruptive measures in today's world. One of the things that I find really interesting about disruption and innovation is how much of it can be driven by people, especially for companies that deal with end users or end consumers. When we think about the types of disruption that are out there, one that we can't bypass is social and cultural change. So not just how we communicate with each other, but what is important to people today, and are we meeting people's needs, right? If you think about the women's rights movements, or we think about the Black Lives Matter movement, or we think about immigration rights, or any of these types of large scale movements that really truly matter to people and are held close to the heart, these are movements that can make or break organizations and can change how you're interacting with them and the messaging you use, whether or not that's accepted and received by your end consumers, or if it's something that is rejected by those same consumers. And sometimes it's a toss-up, right? A sentiment that worked 2 weeks ago might not work today. When we talk about consumer sentiment, it changes a lot. And so having people on your marketing or your PR or your social media or whatever teams, keeping their pulse, their fingers on the pulse of what's driving your customers is going to be vitally important for understanding where disruption comes from. I remember a Fortune 500 CPG company going, remember the pink sauce in the bathtub on TikTok? We've got to get on something like that. How do we reinvent our products and our services in a way that people want to eat our sauce out of a bathtub, just like these people were wanting to do with the pink sauce in the bathtub on TikTok? I'm telling you, consumers are unique and entertaining in many different ways. How you choose to interact and engage them is really important, and will vary company to company. Some you will be successful with, some you won't. And this is why a spirit of innovation within your organization is important, for you to continuously have a pipeline of opportunity for you to bring into the masses as their needs and desires change. This is what we talk about when we know we need to innovate in order to stay ahead of the disruption that's coming, always coming, whether it's from our competitors, whether it's from the market, whether it's from our consumers, whether it's from outside external factors altogether. By continuously innovating, transforming the way we do our products, services, and operations in order to stay ahead of the game. You must innovate or die. So embrace disruption, embrace innovation, transform your organization, and stay ahead of the game. Thank you for joining us today on Transformation Talks with Tara.